Okay, Taz, I feel like I need your help, tips, advice on something.
Oh my
So
God.
my new thing that I'm like really into is building like keyboards. So recently I built a keyboard inspired by strawberry matcha, and it's like my favorite keyboard, and it's so
Mm.
cute. And I feel like I was doing a good job of like picking up on the trend, because like everybody's loving matcha at the minute, and like especially everybody's loving strawberry matcha, and it wasn't even really intentional. But that video did quite well, and I feel like the reason it did quite well is because I was like unknowingly picking up on the strawberry matcha trend. And
Mm.
it's like making me think about, when these like trending makeup looks go around, like the iced latte caramel. Do you know what I mean? Or like, I can't even think of like other examples. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, or like milky nails.
Yes. And I started thinking, oh my God, I could start picking up on these trends and like building a keyboard based on these trends. But then I was trying to think, like, are there any trends going around at the minute that I should pick up on? Is there any cute like food item that everybody's loving that I should build a keyboard based on? But I can't think of any. All I can think of is like blueberry matcha, but I don't want to do like a blue green keyboard because that's not my vibe.
Well, the immediate thing that came to my mind, but it's not, I don't know if it's really a trend, but it's more like it's kind of like popular at the moment, is strawberries and cream, because obviously you've got
Oh
Wimbledon
yeah.
on, and also
Yes.
the M&S sandwiches that have the
Mm.
cream and strawberry. And like, I feel like that's really hit the news at the moment.
I saw something about that. I did see something about that. And I also saw that like Subway are doing something. Well, they did one day where they were doing like strawberries and cream, like Subway or something like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like that's definitely like a trend at the moment, but it's not necessarily I don't know, a makeup trend or, but I guess strawberry
It could
matcha
still
isn't.
work.
Yeah.
No, no, it's not. It could still work. That could still work.
Mm.
But basically, if you ever see like any trends going around, like you notice everybody talking about like latte makeup, or everybody's obsessed with like a certain thing, can you let me know so I can be like, I can hop on it and build
Yeah, I
a
feel like
keyboard?
there's no real makeup-y trends at the
At the
moment.
moment, there's not. No, I feel like it's more of like a winter autumnal thing. Whereas in summer, people, I guess, just wear less makeup.
Yeah, that is so true.
Maybe that's why. Whereas like in winter and autumn, like people want to experiment more with their makeup. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll have to let you know. Like, I can't think of anything right now. I remember, obviously, it used to be a trend to have like glazed donut nails and
Mm,
like things like that. But yeah, the only thing I can think of right now is like strawberries and cream vibe. But I guess that's kind of similar
mm.
to strawberries and matcha. But up to you, I guess. But yeah, if any listeners are listening and they have any ideas, then let us know. But for
Send them my
now,
way.
let's get into today's episode, and I'm super
Let's go.
excited about it.
Welcome to the So Cultured podcast.
Where we explore science and tech unfiltered.
We're your hosts, Liv and Taz, two girls who love STEM and spilling the tea.
Each season, we take on a new theme, whether it's busting conspiracy theories, celebrating women in STEM, or breaking down the science in your favourite sci-fi films.
And of course, in every episode, we spill the laboraTEAAA,
where we share your wildest stories from the world of science.
Let's get into this week's episode of So Cultured.
At roughly 4 p.m. on the 20th of July, 1969, mankind was just minutes away from landing on the surface of the moon. But just before the astronauts began their final descent, an emergency alarm lit up. Something was overloading the Apollo guidance computer, threatening to abort the landing. Now, back on Earth, Margaret Hamilton held her breath. She had led the team that developed the pioneering in-flight software guiding this very mission, software that had never faced a test quite like this. She knew there was no room for error, but as it turned out, this emergency would soon prove that Hamilton's software wasn't failing. It was doing exactly what it was supposed to do.
Interesting. I don't feel like I've heard of this story, so this is exciting. With that being said, let's obviously start from the beginning. Who is
Yeah.
Margaret? Where is she from? What does she do?
So Margaret Elaine Hayfield was born on the 17th of August 1936 in the small town of Paoli, Indiana. Her father was a poet and her grandfather was a headmaster, and they helped spark her early interest in ideas and, I guess, abstract thought. And by the time the family moved to Michigan, Margaret was on a clear path towards academic excellence. She graduated from Hancock High School in 1954, and in 1955 she began studying mathematics at the University of Michigan, but soon transferred to Earlham College, where her mother had also been a student. And there she earned a bachelor's in mathematics with a minor in philosophy in 1958. It was Florence Long, the head of the math department at Earlham, who encouraged her to explore abstract math and even consider becoming a professor. She was really that good.
Oh, that's so interesting. Did she actually become a professor in the end? I mean, sounds like she was working at NASA, so maybe.
Well, Margaret graduated with her undergraduate degree in 1958 and soon after she married. So originally, Hamilton intended to pursue graduate study in abstract mathematics at Brandeis University, but she put those plans on hold and instead she took a job as a programmer at MIT to support her husband while he attended Harvard Law School. And at a time where many women were expected to support their husbands socially, not professionally, Margaret was expected to pour tea and play hostess as a law wife. But she refused, and she told her husband plainly, "If I go to Harvard Law School, fine. I'll do what men do, but I'm not pouring tea just because I'm a Harvard law wife." And her husband was proud of her for taking that stand.
Oh my God, she's giving Elwood's.
Oh my God, yes.
She really
If
is.
my
Love
husband
this.
can do it, I can do it, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's literally what it's giving. But I mean, another supportive partner. We love to see it.
Yeah, so instead of serving tea, Margaret was learning to write code, obviously at her new job in MIT. She started working at the meteorology department with Edward Lorenz, and that was the very scientist who would go on to pioneer chaos theory, which we actually spoke about
Oh
in
my
the
gosh, yes.
debunked episode on simulation theory. And
Yes.
so her work essentially helped Lorenz publish influential papers on this theory, and it really gave Margaret a new path forward. And Margaret began developing software on machines like LGP30 and PDP-1, which are some of the earliest computers. And this was long before software engineering even existed as like a formal discipline. So programmers were really learning as they went. And by 1961, she was hired at MIT's Lincoln Laboratory to work on the SAGE project, one of the first US military systems to use computers to search for enemy aircraft. So SAGE kind of grew out of Project Whirlwind and was designed to predict and track weather systems before it kind of pivoted towards military use. And there's actually quite a funny story from this time that Margaret loved to tell. And that was when she was at the new Lincoln lab. They gave her a notoriously difficult program that no one else had been able to run. And the code was full of comments written in Greek and Latin, almost as sort of a challenge. And Hamilton, she not only was the first to figure it out, she got it running and had it printing its outputs in Greek and Latin, just as
Oh my
the
gosh.
original programmer intended.
Oh my God, that's incredible. What a
I
queen.
know.
That is so
Queen.
incredible. I think I've said this before, so like, sorry if I'm boring you, Taz, and boring the listeners, but I feel like a lot of the origins of tech and computing began in like a military context. I feel like we often speak about like World War II, but I feel like all of these have like some origin and like their first intended use was something to do with military, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, she sounds super clever. So she's got her background in coding and I guess working on the software for hardware. So how did this lead to her role at NASA?
Yeah, so it was essentially this work that actually made her a really natural fit for a job opening at NASA. And it was one her husband actually spotted in a local newspaper and thought that she would be like an ideal candidate for it. And NASA soon realized that Hamilton's quote unquote engineering, which is a word many still kind of scoffed at when used to describe software, would be the very tool they needed to beat the Soviet Union to the moon. And so
Oh my God.
by 1965, at the age of 28, Margaret learned about the Apollo project and immediately wanted in. The idea of helping to put a man on the moon was, in her words, very exciting. She joined the MIT Instrumentation Laboratory, which is now called the Draper Laboratory, where she became the very first programmer hired
Oh
for
my
the
God.
Apollo mission, and obviously
No
the
way.
first woman programmer on the team.
That's so cool.
And I think this is really interesting because initially programming and computing was more seen as like a woman's role, whilst kind of like the hardware engineering, or probably what we would call mechanical or electrical engineering, like physically building stuff, was more of man's role, which I found super interesting. So like a lot of the early software programmers were women because I don't
Yes.
know, like it's not physically laborious and like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I kind of picture engineering and like mechanical engineering as like a man putting a car together kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then you've got
No,
software engineering, which is
it
like
is so
more,
true. Like there were so
yeah.
many iconic women at the beginning of the field of software engineering,
Mm.
programming and all of that. And I find it really funny when like men will comment on my videos like, "Oh, you're a woman, you can't do that." And I'm like, "You need to learn about the history of the field you are working in, sir,
Yeah, it's
and then
literally
come back
so
to
true.
me."
And actually, it's something I didn't really think about before, but it actually makes total sense.
Mhm.
But in fact, most of Margaret's colleagues were men, obviously, many with spouses at home caring for their children. But obviously, Margaret didn't have that option. And she actually brought her young daughter, Lauren, in to work with her nights and weekends. And Lauren watched her mother test software by pretending to be an astronaut herself, simulating the exact locations the Apollo crew would perform. And naturally, Lauren also wanted to play astronaut. So one day during a simulation, everything crashed whilst Lauren was playing. And Margaret actually realized Lauren had accidentally selected the pre-launch program during an in-flight simulation, which is a simple, innocent mistake, but one that could probably easily have been made by a real astronaut under
Mhm.
pressure, right? So Margaret immediately flagged this issue and kind of pushed for a safeguard to be built into the system or the software.
Wow.
But initially, NASA and MIT rejected the idea, and they said that astronauts are trained never to make a mistake, which I think
Okay.
is
Right.
pretty wild.
Yeah, agreed.
It's kind of insane that they thought that. And Margaret obviously thought so too because she persisted. And eventually she did win the debate. And she and her team added this like new protective code, software that could detect and recover from human error before it kind of became mission ending essentially. And this was a really revolutionary concept at the time when software was rarely trusted to handle anything unexpected. So Margaret's team wasn't just writing code, they were basically inventing a completely new discipline. And in fact, Margaret herself coined the term software engineering to describe
Mhm.
their work because she wanted software development to be respected as an engineering discipline, just like hardware engineering. And over time, she obviously succeeded. And I would probably say that it's the biggest field of engineering now.
Mhm.
But anyways, she was eventually appointed director of the software engineering division, leading development for the Apollo guidance computer. And that system, which was compact enough to fit into 1 cubic foot of space, was responsible for guiding, navigating, and controlling the command module and the lunar module of the Apollo spacecraft. And at the time, people were kind of skeptical about her role in this mission, but obviously, in time, we will see that her ideas would be vindicated.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to like hear this story and hear what went wrong, how she saved it,
Mm.
and yeah, tell us more.
Yeah, so Margaret's key innovation was making the Apollo flight software asynchronous. So early
Okay.
computers processed commands in strict, predetermined order, but what if something unexpected happened? Well, Margaret designed a system where more important tasks could interrupt less important ones. So she and her team assigned like unique priority levels to every task that the guidance computer would make, so that during really critical moments, like obviously the moon landing, the software would always know what mattered the most. And she went one step further. She designed a feature called display interface routines, now famously known as priority displays, and these allowed the computer to interrupt the astronauts' routine tasks and alert them in real time if there was like an emergency that had occurred. And it was the first time flight software communicated directly and asynchronously with a human pilot. And obviously it was a revolutionary idea, and it was one
so
that
cool.
would save the Apollo 11. So let's go to the Apollo 11. Just 3 minutes before the lunar lander reached the moon, several alarms flashed on the Apollo guidance computer. Astronaut Buzz Aldrin had entered an 8th command while the system was only designed to handle 7 tasks simultaneously. Or, according to another account, Aldrin had inadvertently left the rendezvous radar switch on, which caused like a flood of interrupts. Whatever the exact cause, the system was overloaded and there was alarms blaring. But thanks to Hamilton's design, the software didn't crash, it didn't stall, which it would have done if things
Oh
had
my
to happen in a
gosh.
predetermined order within the software. Instead, it invoked a restart program and basically kept the most critical tasks running, which were guidance, navigation, and obviously landing. And the priority displays that I mentioned, they also gave mission control a clear decision to land or abort. So is this emergency that's blaring something so critical that it's going to mean that they can't land, or is it something as simple as a mistaken flick of a switch that's just overloading the system? And obviously it did turn out to be the latter, and Margaret's priority display told mission control exactly what the issue was. So Jack Garman, a NASA engineer, recognized the alarms immediately and the warning that was flashing, and knew that it wasn't anything serious, and gave the go ahead, and he shouted, "Go, go." And the lunar module, as a result, kept descending. And moments later, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin became the first humans to walk on the moon.
Wow.
So Hamilton's software essentially saved the entire mission.
That is so amazing.
I
So
know.
amazing. I can't believe I've never heard this story before, especially
I
considering like
know.
we've done episodes on the Apollo 11 before. Like this just goes to show why this series is so great. And can I just say, small step for man, but a woman for sure actually allowed it to happen, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Can you imagine being her though, like knowing that you were behind all like that's insane. Like what did she do after?
I think it's honestly insane. Like this story is so crazy, and like you say, I think it's crazy how, I mean, some people listening might have heard of her before, but I certainly hadn't. You know,
No,
and I'm a woman
me
in
neither.
STEM, and you're the same. And I would say you're even kind of in a similar tech, well, not a similar tech field,
100%.
but like you're in the tech
Yeah.
and coding world. So it's like wild that we don't learn about these things, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's because often we have men teaching us. And it's not to say that men don't want to teach us. I'm not saying they're actively choosing to not teach us about women. But I think as women in STEM, we inherently like look for stories like this. The 90% of people who will listen to this series will be women themselves. Do you know what I mean? So we like actively probably seek out these stories. So if you have a man teaching you these kind of topics, perhaps maybe you'll have less exposure. That might be a completely inaccurate thing for me to say, but I'm just speculating.
Yeah, it's like, what is it, unconscious bias.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of the time we discuss these stories, and unfortunately, especially with like Rosalind Franklin, her story kind of got out there because loads of women wrote books
Yes.
about her.
Yeah,
And
that's what I'm saying. Like
all the
women are more likely
authors
to amplify
were
these
women.
voices. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Exactly.
think it is just like an unconscious bias of like the society that we lived and to an extent still live in. So yeah, I completely agree. But yeah, after Apollo, obviously, Margaret, she did not stop. She co-founded High Order Software in 1976, where she continued developing ideas around fault-tolerant systems similar to she designed. at Apollo 11. And she also created HIS-tory, which was a software methodology for building highly reliable systems, and applied it into government and defense projects. And in 1986, she founded Hamilton Technologies and built that around her Universal Systems language, which was kind of a tool for designing error-resistant systems. So kind of similar work to what she was already doing, but I guess she was really building upon it and
Building on it, yeah.
kind of marketing it to the government and defense. Her method, which she called development before the fact, focused on eliminating errors before they ever occurred. And over her career, she authored more than 130 papers and reports and contributed to around 60 major projects and helped define best practices in reliability, life cycle management, and kind of system orientated object design. So obviously she coined the term software engineering, and her impact on the field of software engineering is like immeasurable, basically.
Yeah, 130 papers and reports. That's insane. I could never. That is absolutely
me on my
amazing.
like 12.
I mean, that's pretty good. I'm like, what are you laughing at? Like, I don't know how many I've got, but 12 like first author?
No, not first author.
Oh my god, I was about to just like quit while I'm
internally
ahead.
combust. No, I mean, I would be gassed if I had 12 first author papers.
Yeah, imagine. Oh my god, that's like, that would be me in 20, no, it'd probably me in 30 years at this rate.
I know.
They'll all be stuck in review for like 2 years. Let's not go there. But
no, let's not go there.
Was she, because obviously all the stories that we've spoke about so far, I say all the stories, we're only on episode 3, but the 2 stories that we spoke about so far, a really heavy theme throughout them has been that obviously these women weren't actually ever recognised for their work. But surely she was, right? Because she saved Apollo 11. So was she ever recognised for her work? Like, did she get the recognition that she deserved?
Yeah, I agree. Like, she's definitely more recognised for the work she did. But obviously, she's kind of more of a modern figure than people we've spoken about previously. I feel like she could be still alive now, actually. But obviously, historically, her male colleagues kind of scoffed at her work, almost deeming it unimportant. And like you say, her name...
jealous.
Yeah. Well, I just think they were like, oh, it's not what we're doing. It's not building rocket ships. You're just dealing with the little code that we deem useless anyway, because astronauts don't make mistakes. Anyway, I'm getting salty, clearly. But anyway,
again, here we go.
I think just the fact that, like, as we've already spoken about, her name isn't really widely known, despite the fact that she essentially ensured the first men walked on the moon. But in 2003, NASA did award her with their largest financial prize ever given to an individual. And in 2016, President Barack Obama awarded her the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And standing beside him was the, I would say, now famous photo of Hamilton. You might have seen it in 1969, where she is smiling proudly next to a stack of her printed software books that kind of towered over her. If I can, I'll put it on screen now if you're watching so you can see, because it's kind of iconic. Like, and if you've not seen it before, I feel like her picture kind of precedes her. I've definitely seen the picture before.
Yeah, same. I just know which one you're talking about. Which is true, right? Because I know the picture, but I don't know her name and I don't know her story. So that's, you're right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then in 2017, Lego released a Women of NASA set featuring Margaret. And in 2019, to mark the 50th anniversary of the moon landing, the mirrors of the Ivanpah solar power facility were aligned to create a tribute image of Margaret Hamilton and the Apollo 11 lander, visible only by moonlight, which I thought is so cool. So obviously, I feel like maybe in the realm of space and software engineering and NASA, I think maybe she is more well known, because obviously she is being kind of celebrated in this way.
It's nice to know that she was recognised and Like, I'm telling you, it's always NASA. I'm telling you, it's always NASA recognizing these. Like, I just love this from them. Hope that we continue to see this trend.
Yeah, I also thought of a funny pun that Margaret
Go
was
on.
probably really over the moon about landing men on the moon. But anyway.
Oh my God, that is like, that is tragic. That is dad joke.
Tragic.
Level
Anyway,
300.
in all seriousness, let's round off the science of today's episode. So I'll leave you with this. Margaret Hamilton once wrote about the Apollo 11 incident. The computer was smart enough to recognize it was being asked to do too much. It sent out an alarm and it started eliminating low priority tasks. If the computer hadn't taken the recovery action, I doubt if Apollo 11 would have been the successful moon landing that it was. So her ingenuity, her vision, it really made the impossible possible. She not only helped land humans on the moon, but she changed the very way we think about software and software engineering.
Wow.
And she gave the world essentially a new language and the tools and the discipline that basically powers everything these days, from medical devices to satellites and obviously to the phone in your hand. So she didn't just make history, she literally engineered it.
One sleigh after another.
One sleigh after another. Another
Can
day,
we also
another
acknowledge
sleigh.
how humble she was? Because she's like, the computer was smart enough. No, babe, you were smart enough
I
to
know.
tell the computer to do that. Come on, give yourself the
know.
credit you deserve.
And thank
That's
God
incredible.
goodness she persisted in like convincing NASA that it was a good idea to have it on. But yeah.
This is another theme we keep seeing. You've got to stand up for yourself, ladies. Yeah, incredible. Well, thank you so much for this, Taz. It was so nice to like hear about her, hear her story. Like we said, I've seen the picture, and now I feel like, cause I feel like I see that picture quite often. Now I feel like I'm gonna be able to have not only a name but a story to pair with that picture, which is just so nice. And yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed the science section of episode 3. For now, we are going to move on to our laboratory section of this episode, and we are going to be doing our what would you do if. So you guys have asked us some what would you do if questions on Instagram, and we are ready to answer them, so let's go. But I'm worth it, 'cause I'll slip into your dreams tonight. Okay, so we had so many what would you do is from our listeners. So if we don't get around to answering yours today, then make sure you tune in to the next few episodes, because hopefully we will get to them. But I have to start with just, I don't know why this one is just relatable and funny. So it says, what would you do if you were presenting to your lab group during your weekly lab meeting and you go to share your screen and forget that you still have Anne Summers open in the background and your whole lab sees it?
Oh my God.
First of all, I feel like we need to clear up what Anne Summers is, because I don't know if that's just a UK thing, but if we have any listeners who are not UK based, Anne Summers, how do we explain Anne Summers? It's like a lingerie, sex toy, all things sex kind of shop. Like that's just the vibe. I mean, it's mainly like lingerie.
Whips.
Well, no, anything you can dream of, it's Anne Summers has probably got it. So my first question is, it really depends. What am I browsing on Anne Summers? What page do I have open? Like, do I just have the cute nightwear, or do I have the chains and whips?
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, that would be like actually mortifying, because sometimes like if you go on these type of websites, like you're genuinely just looking for like a no VPL, like nude thong, like nothing crazy, and then you just think, like you go on the homepage and you think, oh, like let me just have a little browse, just because you like to see like what they've got, because they just have like unhinged stuff. Like I feel like the iconic thing from Anne Summers is the like candy G-string. And I'm always so intrigued by that. Like, who buys that? And like, do you eat the whole G-string? Do you eat just a little bit of it? Like, what point do you eat? It's just a whole thing in my head.
I honestly thought this before, and I think Anne Summers is just there for like hen dos at this point, because surely no one ever goes in there and like or buys stuff from there. And
actually,
it's, like,
a lot of my friends go in there.
What? I remember going in there when I was like 15 or like 14 and being like,
or when you just turned like 18 and like you felt really cool being in there. But a lot of my friends go in there, but I think it's because a lot of my friends are like pole friends and they go in there for like cute pole outfits. So yeah, a lot of them still go in there, but I haven't been in Anne Summers in like God, I can't remember how long. So, I mean, it's likely to not be open on my computer. However, if it was, would you address it? Like, would you be like, oh, or would you just leave it? Like,
My
I
God,
think
I
what
don't
I would
even
say is
know.
no, I know what I would do, especially if it was open on like something really embarrassing, like you're looking at like the rabbits or you're looking at something really embarrassing. I would say, oh, sorry, like I've got a hen do coming up. Like, I think I would blame it on a hen do. I think I'd be like, oh, just, oh no, would I address it? I don't know. Maybe I'd just leave it.
I think I wouldn't address it.
Oh. No, but that's
I
even
think I'd be
worse because
like,
like everyone's
yeah, but you're not going to be like, oh, by the way, sorry, there's a vibrator in your face. Like, just looking for my next new thing.
yeah, but then they're all just gonna like they're just gonna think about that for like the next eternity. They're probably just gonna be thinking like, oh, what does Taz? Do you know what I mean? So I feel like you should address it and you should say, oh, I was just looking because I've got a hen do coming up. We're just
Yeah.
looking for stuff to like wind up the bride.
Yeah. Do you know what this kind of reminds me of? I mean, it's not the
Oh
same thing
God,
like at
what?
all, but we have a mutual friend called Ellie on Instagram. She's got my PhD experience.
Oh
But
yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
one time she was on Zoom to the European Patent Office
Oh my
thing,
God, that was hilarious.
and there was like 30,000 people watching this, right?
That
And
is
in
so
the
funny.
background, her dog was like fully throwing up, like
It's the way she was
retching,
ignoring it.
throwing up.
So funny.
And she stopped mid sentence, and you
She
could
was
literally
like
see her dog
looking to the
and you could
side.
hear it and everything. And she was like, and then she
She
just
just looks so
strung some
done.
words together. So I think that
You
would
guys
probably
have to
be
go and watch
me.
it. I think in my state of panic, I would just not address it. But then afterwards, I would be like, oh, I should have said it was a hen do. But when I go on a Zoom meeting, I close everything down, even though I'm not looking at anything crazy. Like I'm probably just looking at something random. I will close everything down and like just have open
See, I
monitors.
actually don't,
Do you
which
know what?
is
Well, maybe you should
probably
start because you never
not
know what
that
could
good.
happen, Taz. You never know.
I mean, to be fair, I've even shared my screen before and like felt guilty that there's like a tab that's got YouTube on it, like on my
Yeah, that's what I'm
browser.
saying.
I'm
That's
like,
why I just
oh,
close everything. I'm like, I'm a good employee. Like I have nothing open but my terminal, VS Code, and Zoom. Nothing is distracting this girl. That's how
yeah,
I like to come
sure.
across. Even though realistically, definitely have got YouTube up, definitely doing a little bit of online shopping while the code is running, like all the things
Yeah,
are going on. So
yeah,
yeah. Okay, so we're both realistically probably not gonna address it. We're just gonna ignore it. I'd
yeah.
love to know, like, listeners, do you guys have any like good excuses that if God forbid this ever happens to me or Taz, like we have them at the ready? If you guys have any good excuses, DM us on Instagram with your excuse. But
Do
let's
you
go on
know
to the
what
next.
my excuse would probably be? Like, I mean, it probably wouldn't work if it was like in the middle of July, but I would say Secret Santa.
Oh, good one. Yeah, good
Yeah.
one. Okay, moving on to the next. What would you do if? What would you do if your boyfriend was your professor?
Hmm.
Context.
My
If my
immediate
boyfriend.
thought is, what would you do if your boyfriend was Pietro Buzzelli?
Oh, for fuck's sake. It's just
I'd be
no.
absolutely gassed. That's my answer.
Season season 41, we're still talking about him. Honestly, like it's just this joke is never gonna be dropped. Yeah, I mean this is what I'm saying. Context is important. What would I do if my boyfriend was my professor? Get top grades, obviously.
Yeah, I think slay. That's amazing.
Use it to your advantage, 100%. I'm not gonna be humble. I'm not gonna be like, no, don't give me credit that I haven't earned. Give me everything you can.
Yeah,
Top
literally
grades.
100%. I'd probably keep it a secret as well, not gonna lie.
Yeah, same. Because otherwise they'll be like, oh, you keep giving her top marks. This is all a bit sus. Keep it a
Yeah.
secret. Take the top marks, 100%.
Yeah. Do you know, it really used to like annoy me a little. Well, not annoy me, but I was clearly just really jealous. But my friend Sam, even doing a PhD alongside me, his mum was like a postdoc. So like
Oh my God, yeah, I
anytime he
remember you
had
telling me this.
any issue during his PhD, he would just go to his mum and ask a question. And
That
she'd
would make
just
me
be like,
jealous.
do this, do that, do that. And I'd go home to my mum and be like, why the f are you working in finance? Like, why can't you help me?
Oh, your poor mum. Listen, someone's got to be first gen. That would make me sorry. I would be jealous. If I was you, I would be like, Sam, I've got this question. Go ask your mum for
Oh,
me.
of course I did that. Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
100%.
But he would always come back and be like, "Oh, I thought of this thing," and I'm like, "Did you think of it, or did your mum think of
His
it?"
mum. His mum thought of it.
Yeah,
Overlooked. Sam's mum. Overlooked.
overlooked. That's a
We
very
have
good
such
point.
shit jokes on this podcast. It's unreal. Like, how anyone listens
We're
to us. I
actually
do
so
not know.
lame. I'm so sorry.
Anyway, other than top grades, like, what am I going to get from my boyfriend just because he's my professor? Like, what else is there to benefit from your
And
professor?
a job at the end of it,
Time off, missing lectures without getting
networking
in trouble.
opportunities,
Yeah,
taken to
first. I'm take all of it.
conferences.
I
Yeah,
would take
me
all of
too.
it. But also, I don't want to work with my boyfriend. I've been there, done that, and it's
Yeah,
no.
true.
I would
True.
not want to do that. So realistically, what would I do if my boyfriend was my professor? I'd actually probably break up with him after I took the top grades, to
Savage.
be honest. No, because I don't want to work with my boyfriend.
Well, you could just move somewhere else. Don't have to break up with him.
Uh,
Liv's clearly in a
I,
breaky uppy mood.
I am in a breaky uppy mood. I absolutely am. I'm in my single era. Nah, I'm breaking up with him. Sorry.
Sorry, absolutely not sorry at all.
Yeah, I know. I'm just like playing with my hair as I say it. Sorry. So yeah, that's my decision.
Yeah, okay, so Liv would just break up with him after reaping all the rewards.
Yeah.
I would
Slay.
reap all
One
the
slay after the other.
rewards, but keep it a secret.
Love that.
I love how we're both not honest. We're like, we'll reap all the rewards and you'll either be dumped or be kept a secret.
That is honest. We are honest.
We're so nice, aren't
queens.
we?
We are honest queens. Okay, last one. Someone asked, what would you do if your advisor or your boss moved to another country for a month without telling you? So there was no warning. They literally just moved to another country. Do you know what? This has literally happened to one of my friends. Like, her PI just moved back to, I think it was Italy, and he never told the uni that he moved back, and he still to this day lives there. And he comes back, he flies back once every 2 weeks and comes in
Oh
for a
my
day for
gosh.
meetings and to come onto campus. And the uni do not know that he is living in Italy. How bad is that? And like the like lab group know, because obviously he's never there and he comes in like once every 2 weeks. And none of them have like told on him. Am I a snitch? Because they all don't like it because they don't get the help that they deserve and like want from him because he's never in the country. But none of them have snitched.
Yeah, this is really reflecting on situation that I've been through as well.
This is so common in academia because do you know what? Like, I'm just thinking the listener who wrote this in, because they put in brackets at the end, a true story. Do you work? No, I was about to say where, but did we potentially have the same supervisor? Because Taz, do you remember when my supervisor did this to me? I don't know if you remember, but one day I sent him an email and I got back an automatic like out of office reply, and it was like, I'm away until this day. And I was like, that's fucking 30 days from now. And he didn't tell me anything. He literally just went on holiday for 30 days without telling me. And I just learnt about it from his out of office. And I was like, are you actually joking me? That's when I was
I
like,
do
I've got
remember
to quit.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, this is bizarre. I think that was my final straw. I was like, this is just insane. Like, I am your only employee. This is not where I work right now because I am my supervisor's only like employee now. So just putting a disclaimer out there.
Yeah, I think it's so difficult because there's not really anything you can do in that scenario. Obviously, we don't have like full context of this situation, but obviously, if you're a PhD student, you can't really quit. I mean, you can if you want to, but like, I think you should seek out another advisor, and that is something you could quite easily do, especially if you are a student. I think like universities take it fairly seriously when a PhD student is like,
Yeah,
I've got no support, I want to change advisor, then they usually facilitate that. So I'd 100% do that. If obviously you're in a job, that's a bit harder. You could go to HR, but then it's like, yeah.
I think, like you said, it does depend on like prior history. Like, obviously, don't take my advice and just quit unless your supervisor is just like a bit useless, like mine was. Because, like I said, that was just the final straw for me. But if it's like their first time doing it, then and they're normally okay, then maybe just cut them some slack and just get on with it, and you'll be fine for a month. You got this. So it depends. Context is important. Maybe you should write in with a laboratory, I think, and give us more context on this situation. Tell us about your PI. What's he like? Is he normally good at contacting and communicating or not? Tell us about him. This
Yeah,
is
we
it.
would
This
love
is
to
what you need to
know.
do.
Yeah.
Write in a laboratory. We will pop the link for you to do that in today's video or episode description. And the same goes for any of our other listeners. If any of you guys relate to anything we said today and you want to share a laboratory with us, then head down to the video or episode description, click the anonymous link and submit your story. And we will do our best to cover it this season. And with that, I think it rounds off episode 3 of Overlooked. So we will see you guys in next week's episode, and thank you so much for joining us. Bye everyone.
Bye everyone.